Hi, my name is Gina Oviedo Martinez, and this talk is entitled Autism Abroad. And I want to go ahead and talk about the problems that can happen when you have autism when you're on any kind of trip. A few months ago, I was selected to be a part of a cohort of professors to study the African diaspora in Brazil on a Fulbright fellowship. I never thought I would actually get it, so I was shocked and pretty excited. I remained upbeat about the whole 4-week trip for months because I've always wanted to visit Brazil. It was the last place on my dream travel list, and so it just sounded like a dream. Like a dream come true for everybody. But I had a special set of challenges to deal with on the trip. I have never traveled without my family. I'd never been away from home that long, and most importantly because I have Asperger's syndrome. This is now referred to as high-functioning autism, though there is some differences. And the reason I want to do this talk is there is little research or information for adults dealing with autism. I wanted to include this talk in part of our record because I'm sure there are other traveling Aspergians that could benefit. Just a little bit about autism. Autism affects areas of the brain that control social interactions, sensory issues, especially lights and sounds, extreme clumsiness, getting overwhelmed easily, insomnia, nightmares, and trouble with motor skills. For example, many sounds occurring at one time can cause me to shut down. Places like airports and planes are the worst. They're almost unbearable because of the constant noise and constant beeping and constant announcements and just people. The airplane itself is it gives you such a small space now, like you're so crowded in, that it makes me extremely uncomfortable, which I'm sure is very common for people. But I feel like I'm going to bump into someone or they're going to bump into me. And when someone bumps into me, it just sends little electric shocks through my body. And it's super uncomfortable for 5 minutes. I also worry about stimming. When I get nervous or upset, I stim, which is a behavior that looks a lot like this in little kids, or pulling your clothes. As an adult, mine is turned into more of wringing my hands or touching my hair. And other people have different ways that they exhibit stims. Rocking, repetitive sentences or words, and other weird socially ostracizing behavior. Our trip started with a 32-hour day of traveling, missing planes, waiting in airports, followed by a long meeting about our trip. I remember nothing of that meeting because after that travel nightmare, no personal space on the plane, airports are too bright, too many people, our lengthy extended flight with missing planes and all of these things. The loudness and just the whole thing just made me really overwhelmed. I ended up shutting down the first night we got to this particular destination, and I just cried for hours. It does happen at home. It will happen at home when I get overwhelmed. But being away and abroad makes it more difficult because I can't use a lot of the tools that I use at home, like my special quiet space or going outside or sitting in my hammock or a lot of other things that I do that help with the whole situation, and that just made it really, really difficult. One of the primary issues on the trip has to do with sensory issues. I have tons of sensory issues. The way things sound, the way things look, the way things feel on my skin. The way things feel on my skin is a pretty major one. I pick most of my clothes because they don't have a lot of seams, or the material is extremely soft and will stay that way and won't become piley and stuff like that. And things like the feel of car seats, rough blankets, the heat that was there, the chairs. I'm left-handed. Every place we went that had a desk was right-handed, which is just an extremely annoying situation. If any of you are left-handed, you'll understand. Just becoming uncomfortable in my own skin, uncomfortable in my clothes, uncomfortable in my chair. These are minor nuisances for people on a normal basis. For me, they can cause me to completely shut down or become so overwhelmed that I have a meltdown and I start crying. Especially if I'm very tired. Being tired is a big catalyst for a lot of it. And surprisingly, Brazil has a massive lack of blankets in hotels. I spent nearly every night frozen to death. I should have brought a blanket from home. I just didn't think about it. And then I had the same problem as we started hand washing clothes, is that they dry really stiff or piley, and then I'm unable to use them. And I had to buy a couple extra things while I was there, or just stop using stuff altogether because it was disturbing my skin and therefore disturbing me. Sensory issues are the major reason that autistic children have horrible meltdowns, and they don't get much better as an adult, though you do learn to see them coming more. Like, I'm starting to get agitated and I need to separate myself. Music for me is a savior. I spend hours a day listening to music. Music saves my life on a daily basis. I listen to specific types of music, a lot of trance music, and those kind of things really help to make me just calm and collected. And I used that on the trip. I spent a lot of time in headphones. One of the more humorous issues is my epic clumsiness. I managed to drop everything, and on this trip I managed to drop at least a dozen cups, a few cookies, pens. I even dropped myself. I fell down the stairs, all the way down these steep stairs at a convent we stayed at, and I broke my telephone. This is momentarily embarrassing, but something I can't really help. My motor skills are simply awful despite years of training, and it's something I've learned to live with. The worst is when I spill on someone, which happened a couple of times on the trip. So I'm sorry, my travel mates. Sorry for spilling stuff on you. Overall, I had one incident of massive sensory overload, which was the day we went to a drum workshop. We went to this drum workshop in a very small room. It couldn't have been more than like 12 by 16, and they must have had at least 20 instruments in it. Well, the instruments themselves are not bothersome to me, but as they hit the walls and echo off the walls, that particular sound, like coming back on top of the already drumming, that caused me extreme distress. I had to use a distraction therapy in which I started taking photos and videos of what was going on so that other people had a record and so that I had something to concentrate on instead of just my epic uncomfortableness with the whole situation. One of the keys to autism is understanding where your limits are and then hopefully being able to work around them or to not press into them. Simpler things like this are immensely important, but being away from home and being in a stressful situation can cause them to worsen. So I'm always grateful for having music and things to distract me so that I'm not so disturbed by the situation. I got to the point where about 3 weeks in, I was very overwhelmed. While I had met the people that were going on the trip with me before, I wasn't particularly close with anyone, so this was kind of an isolating situation, and I was unsure how much I should share with other people. So after about 3 weeks, I called in a nearby friend for company, and he, bless his soul, traveled to my area of Brazil and stayed for 5 days. That 5 days refreshed me for the last week as I was able to talk about what was going on with someone that I'm comfortable with and I know that accepts me and understands my limits. Autistic people tend to not have a lot of friends. It's really difficult to have social interactions. So I am very grateful for it, and I cherish each one of my friendships that I have because they're so few and far between real friendships. And I have to say that was probably one of the saving graces to this trip for me. Now, I'm going to go to the other direction at this point because my autism also has some positive effects on the trip. I have an excellent memory and I'm really good at languages. So I excelled in the Portuguese classes, and I was even able to help other students with their Portuguese skills both inside and outside the classes, like trying to buy medications or trying to buy other things that people needed from different stores, bathing suit measurements, those type of things. And when I'm able to help someone, it makes me feel really good, and it makes me feel like I'm giving back for all the trouble that I might have caused. Now, I also have really decent photography skills. The first class I ever took in college was photography, and I can take some really artistic photos, taking things at strange angles, using filters, etc. So I spent a lot of the trip taking absolutely beautiful photos, and then I went ahead and put them up on a project. And taking these photos and videos and stuff really does keep me distracted during the trip, and organizing the information at the end, which I absolutely love to do. Definitely using that kind of creativity helps to distract me. I'm incredibly proud of myself for completing the program, for learning to deal with other people on a constant basis. I even made some strong connections with group members who helped me through or who I helped through. A month is a long time, but this was a month in which I learned more about myself than I had in years and more about how I fit into the world than I have in years. Being chosen as a Fulbright Fellow is such an honor. I cannot be more excited about it. People always say that autism makes life restrictive, but really with some extra support and a plan for issues, it makes the world open up. I mean, I got a Fulbright fellowship with my autism, and I know that you could too if you have the same situation. It's really some extra support and a plan for issues that makes the world open up, and more experiences are available to us. Not that they will be easy, not that they will be easy, but they are doable. And I'm grateful to Fulbright, my school, and my travel mates for including me in this once-in-a-lifetime experience. And then to end my talk, I would like to quote Anne Lamott, and it says, "It's good to do uncomfortable things. It's weight training for life." And I would like to say that this trip was a weight training for me, for my life, and who I want to be, and how I want to be. And I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.